What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the channel. It's I9's. Hell of a weekend we had with UFC 295. Almost the last pay-per-view of the year. We've got Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards up next. But this is the second to last pay-per-view of the year. And, oh my god, it showed out. You can watch the whole main card faster than you can watch last weekend's main event. That's like how insane this main card was. Every single fight ended in a knockout. Whether it be slightly controversial or not, we'll get into that actually. Let's just get straight into the main event, honestly. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. Yuri Prochazka, I would say probably, I don't know, it's up in the air if he took the first round or not. It was really close. I would maybe lean towards Alex Pereira just because of those leg kicks. Like, they were doing so much damage, but I could see an argument either way. Great first round, though. It kind of like set the pace for exactly how this was going to be. And I saw a lot of people predicting second or third round knockouts both ways, and of course that's how it ended up going. I also predicted it, but I thought it would be Yuri Prochazka getting the dub. Alex Pereira catches Yuri coming in with a bunch of straight punches. He kind of like pulls his head into a left hook. It was super beautiful to watch how like close in the pocket he was still able to generate all that power. And it drops Yuri into a takedown, and then the follow-up like elbows to the head really had him out. At the time, I thought it was a terrible stoppage, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was talking to my friends, watching it live, and, like, texting a couple of my buddies, and I was honestly kind of pissed about it. But then I heard the post-fight, interview, and Yuri Prochazka said that he was out and that Mark Goddard was right, which is crazy. I was really, I was complaining like crazy about Goddard. I was like, oh, of course it was him again. Like, what a shocker. Same arena, too. But you know what? Is what it is. Regardless of that, Alex Pereira, looking at what he's done in like less than 10 UFC fights, now he has 2 belts in 2 different weight classes. He's like 7-1 against Adesanya now at this point. Like, he's taken everything that man's worked for, and he's doing it way better. He's doing it spectacularly. And I don't mean that like completely, obviously. Adesanya is a different fighter. They've done different things. But Pereira is just, he's so great for the sport, man. Like, ever since he's come into the UFC, he's just been a positive for MMA fans, whether it's like the memes or the fights. And honestly, I would say the memes are kind of better, like Chama and the fucking Easter Island statue. That shit's just, it's golden. Next up though, the co-main event, Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich. I called it perfectly. I said Tom Aspinall was going to make it look easy, and I figured it might make it out of the first round just because both of them are tough. Wouldn't have been surprised if it ended in the first. I did think it might go to the second and Tom would have to use his grappling, but nah, he just came in with the 1-2, absolutely sparked Sergey. Sergey landed like a jab or some shit, like a short straight, and it already had Tom pretty like wobbly, but then Tom, smiles, shakes it off, like he kind of kicks into second gear, realizing like, okay, this is a killer right now. And then blasts a 1-2 that when you watch it from certain angles, you could tell knocked out Sergey instantly. And then he lands like the follow-up, like 1-2 or like a hook or something, goes to the ground and pound. Great moment for Tom. He just seems like a fucking all-around stand-up person. And you could tell this is going to be like really big for UK MMA because now they have 2 champions at the moment. Regardless of how you feel about the interim belt, if you watched my last video, you know how I feel about this particular situation. I think it's actually good that we have an interim belt. I don't mind it at all. I think that these 2 fighters were the future of heavyweight, and regardless of who wins between Jones versus Miocic, they're probably not going to fight any of these contenders, you know what I mean? So this is kind of like the real champion for the future. We know who the GOAT is, and honestly, arguably, who could own this division if he really wanted to in Jon Jones, but he's old and he's done it all. I think he has nothing left to prove. Tom Aspinall is going to be the guy that we look at for the future. He's going to be breaking records. I feel like he's just going to be that dude. And then we have the feature fight of the night. One of only 2 fights I dropped on the whole card, mind you. I went 11 out of 13 fights. I had 11 wins, 2 losses. This was my first loss. It broke an 8-leg parlay, which just killed my soul. I was so confident. This was actually one of the fights I thought would be like more of the easier ones. I was nervous about Benoit Saint Denis versus fucking, Matt Frivola. I did not think that Jessica Andrade was just going to decide to break her losing streak, where she's looked like absolute trash in the last fights, and come out here and knock down Mackenzie Dern 4 times, who I know has just terrible striking, but I thought her fight IQ was better. I thought she would be coming into this knowing I need to immediately take her to the ground, and I mean, she kind of did, but yeah, dropped the ball there. And then Matt Frevola versus Benoit Saint-Denis, I mean, look at this fucking head kick. It was a scrap from the get-go. They were like, honestly, having more of a grappling scrap. They were just exchanging in like a flow state, going back and forth with takedowns up against the cage, reversals, getting top position and then giving it up. Benoit Saint-Denis has this amazing ability to just reverse you from the bottom, just with like sweeps, just power reverse you. That dude's intense. Gets back on the feet and he's like stalking Frevola down. I don't remember what the exchange was, but Frevola was kind of like trying to like run away a little bit up against the cage, and then boom, just gets blasted with a head kick out cold. And then we also have Diego Lopez taking on Pat Sabatini, another one that I predicted correctly. I thought it was going to be a first round sub. I thought Pat was going to initiate the grappling quicker and then pretty quickly realize the same thing that Gavin Tucker realized, which is that Diego Lopez is a killer and he's like glue on the ground. Like the second he gets any limb attached to you, he's going to stick to you and just find a way to choke you out or do something. But he didn't even need to do that. He just caught him with hands on the feet. Pat Sabatini was like getting up from a grappling exchange or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember that they were both standing up, and then Diego was quicker to his feet, caught Sabatini, caught him again, and then just followed up and put him out cold. Steve Erceg is another fight I want to talk about. Steve Erceg versus Alesandro Costa. Another almost perfect prediction. I figured that Steve Erceg was going to have some problems on the feet just because Alessandro Costa is a dangerous guy. He's super explosive, and he has submission potential as well. But I knew Erceg would be like just the more cerebral, smarter fighter. I was super impressed with him debuting in the rankings and taking out David Dvorak. Regardless of how you feel about, him debuting in the rankings and how like the rankings aren't that steep at flyweight, it's still impressive because David Dvorak had like a 20-4 or like 5 record or something like that, and that's pretty solid. He's also tested in the UFC. The fight of the night for sure, Borshev versus what is his name? Sadikov? Sorry, I completely spaced on that for a second. But Borshev is a lot better of a fighter than I completely ever gave him credit for, to be honest. I thought he was just a stand-up fighter with kind of a mild chin, weak cardio, and just folds under pressure. But he was doing a really good job. Like, he got hurt bad in the second round, almost put out cold. I don't know how he survived the head kick. He was getting hurt, tagged with a hook or something, and then he got head kicked and dropped. Eats it. They just go on to have a war after, and then he comes back and takes on the third, so it ends up in a draw. And then Jared Gordon finally getting his moment after like a really rough year and a half in the sport, honestly. Comes back, kind of getting manhandled in the clinch, honestly, by Marco Madsen, which I expected a little bit, but he never actually wrestles or uses what he's known for, so I also expected that. And then Jared Gordon just lands better shots in the clinch. He lands a quick elbow that like you could tell really fucking hurt Madsen, but I don't think he realized it at the time. And then a right over the top of his clinch guard, over the top, lands on his temple, knocks him out cold. Jared Gordon gets his moment, talks about being a junkie after, which was hilarious, and then like switches it up to being like you could do anything. It was just a good moment overall. And then the last fight I'm going to talk about, Joshua Van taking on Kevin Borjas. I really counted out Borjas on the feet. He was looking like prime, he was looking like a flyweight Anderson Silva in there for a little bit. Like, he was looking clean as hell for the first, for the last 3 minutes of the first round. And then after that, it was all Joshua Van, looking beautiful with the boxing combinations and the pressure, mixing it up with the leg kicks and everything. It was just a solid performance. Solid night of fights. I hope you guys enjoyed my recap. Of course, they're like shorter, as always. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Have a good one. Love y'all.